order. Melissa, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor Jackson,
Here.
Mr. Lucero,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Is absent.
Ms. Parker,
Here.
Mr. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Bowen,
Here.
Ms. Cordova,
Here.
Mr. Heflin.
Here.
Mr. Lopez.
Here. We have a quorum. Right. Invocation and the pledge. Ms. Parker's gonna lead us in the invocation and I'll lead us in the pledges. Everybody stand, please. Diane?
Please bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we pray that you guide us always, satisfy the needs that need to be met during this meeting tonight and strengthen us as we make tough decisions. We also would like to pray for the family of Randy Burnett, who was a former city councilor for the city of Portales, who passed away this morning. And we just want to let them know that we are thinking of them and to give them the strength and the peace, Lord, to continue. Please guide us so that we have this meeting tonight and it can be productive. And let us be effective and decisive. In your holy name we pray, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Be simple. Fifth item on the agenda is the minutes of the previous meeting that was held March 14th, 2023. The minutes are in your packet. I would entertain action on those minutes, please. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lucero to approve, a second by Ms. Parker. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Next item is a presentation. It's a proclamation for National Vietnam War Veteran Day 2023. We have a representative from, there you are back here. Hi, girls. I'm going to read this proclamation, then I'll present it to you. We've got it in a nice little folder for you. Everybody bear with me. Proclamation, National Vietnam War Veterans Day 2023. Whereas the Vietnam War was officially known as the Second Indochina War, in which a military conflict took place in Vietnam from 1959 to 1975. Initially involving military forces from North Vietnam against South Vietnamese forces. And whereas in 1962, the United States became involved in an advisory capacity in support of South Vietnam because American policymakers feared if the South fell to the communist regime in North Vietnam, the door would open for communism to spread throughout Asia. And whereas in 1965, U.S. combat troops began arriving en masse in Vietnam, and by 1969, a peak of approximately 543,000 were in country. And whereas on January 27th, 1973, hostilities ended with the signing of the Paris Peace Accords and the release of all American prisoners of war held by North Vietnam, and the withdrawal of the U.S. forces from South Vietnam. 2 months later, on March 29th, 1973, the last U.S. military forces were pulled out of South Vietnam. And whereas more than 9 million Americans served in the military during the war, more than 58,000 Americans lost their lives, and more than 300,000 were wounded. Whereas more than 57,000 New Mexicans served during the Vietnam War, and 398 New Mexicans were killed in action, ranking New Mexico third nationally in per capita casualty rate. And whereas upon returning home, many soldiers were not welcomed as patriots who dutifully answered the call of the military service, but were instead met with scorn as participants in a war unpopular with many here at home. And whereas on March 29, 2012 was initially proclaimed National Veterans War Veterans Day nationwide in honor of our men and women. Anyway, sorry about that. I'll start that paragraph over. Whereas March 29, 2012 was initially proclaimed National Vietnam War Veterans Day nationwide in honor of our men and women who served during the Vietnam War era. 5 years later was introduced as an annual observance. Therefore, I, Ronald L. Jackson, Mayor of the City of Portales, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim March 29th as National Vietnam War Veterans Day in Portales. Do we have any Vietnam veterans here? No. Have a lady from, y'all are from the Daughters of the Revolution, right? I represent them. I appreciate you being here. And I'll present this proclamation to you, girls. Let me come around there and give it to you. Actually joined the army in 1980, so we were still Vietnam era and everything that. all the-
I don't think I was alive during it.
Appreciate you being here. Not having any activities or anything for that. Appreciate you being here. Thank you. The cell phone threw me off. Sorry about that. Or whoever's cell phone was that, please put your phones on silent. Could have made that at the first of the meeting. Anyway. Second is a South Roosevelt Road 6 by Industrial Park. Ricky Lovato's here with us from the Roosevelt County Road Superintendent. And Ricky, you have some information for us. It's in our packet. I didn't know if they had a deal on the screen or not, but council people, it's in your packet. Ricky, appreciate you being here.
Good afternoon, councilors. First thing I'd like to say, thank you for inviting me to do this presentation. As you said, hopefully y'all have that in y'all's packets, the phases in the map. We've been working on this proposal for quite some time, since about September of 21, trying to get this road figured out, but we're going to move on. In December of 22, the commission directed Amber and I to find a solution to visit with the industries in the industrial park. And after listening to the concerns of the businesses within the industrial park, Amber and I devised a plan to present it to the commission to suit the needs of the residents and the businesses in that area. Now, if we look at your map and your phases and the breakdown of these sheets, we can discuss the plan in detail. I know that there was some confusion at y'all's last council meeting a couple of months ago. And we're here to hopefully clear that confusion, and maybe we can talk about the different ways that we could fix this road in the intersection. In phase one, the total cost is going to be an estimate of $215,000 for South Roosevelt Road 6, from industrial to South Roosevelt Road U. From industrial west, 350 feet, we would like to put 3 inches of base course and 6 inches of concrete with curb and gutter with rebar. And that will just go just past the gate at the DFA on will be the north side of the facility. And that's where the entrance is for the trucks to get onto the scale house. And that would be concrete. And then from the edge of that concrete going west, from that edge to South Roosevelt Road U, we would do base course. We would do 2 pins of chip seal and 1 pin of micro seal for the rest of that road going west.
How far down on that, Rick? Down to the 4-way stop?
The 4-way stop.
Okay,
Over to Mr. Heflin's house, just, okay.
thank you.
And the Roosevelt County will provide the labor, the equipment, the traffic control, and $100,000 for the first phase. This will represent a total investment of $135,000 from the county for the city roadway. The city will be asked to contribute $45,000 and to trim and remove all the trees along the right of way. And if the city cannot commit to these funds, then the road will not be microsealed. And it would be only a double pin chip seal all the way to South Roosevelt Road U. So what we're saying there is to microseal it, Which y'all have seen, I'm thinking throughout the county, we have been doing a lot of micro seal on top of our chip seal roads. And it's dense, it's tighter, it's a better material than the chip seal. The chip seal is good to have it for up underneath there to support the weight of the traffic. But that micro seal is super dense. It's the material to have on top. For your truck and tractor traffic, those cleats will rip up on a hot day will rip up a chip seal. That micro seal is more dense, more tight, it's tighter, so it's a better material to have on top. So I would advise the city if they could, if we go with this plan, if y'all could come up with the $45,000. Local industry, we asked to contribute $70,000 for the concrete expenses from the intersection, 350 feet west. So from industrial, the intersection of industrial, all the way to 350 feet past that gate. If this funding is not secured, the concrete listed in item 1 will be removed and the entire roadway would be double pinned chip seal from the intersection from industrial to South Roosevelt Road U. So we would probably get back with the businesses out there and visit with them and see what they say and if they're going to come up with any money to double to get the concrete poured. And it will be curb and gutter. So the curb and gutter will be from the entrance to DFA, and it will let the water travel back east and turn back south and between the old alcohol plant and DFA. And then also what we'd like to do while we're out there, if this all goes through, is y'all have a clean out on the south side of DFA. And it runs alongside there and it drops into a natural lake that's out there. And it's plugged, it's got growth, it's got a lot of vegetation, it needs to be cleaned. And what we got, if we get to do this thing, while we got the equipment, I would like to get you all to give us the authority to go in and clean that. That would be to the city. So that would be a good.
It's a holding pond that's back on that other side, Rick,
Yes, sir. Sure is.
from drainage that goes out south, like you said, from the other side of DFA and the old alcohol plant.
It squeezes in between the tracks and drops back into the west there.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir. So that would be everything on South Roosevelt Road 6. We would like to get that done. I mean, you know, the residents out there need it. Also, the businesses would like to have it done. Now, the businesses also would like phase 2 done. Phase 2, in my cost estimate, is $384,000. Now, with that $384,000, that is the county doing the dirt work. Chip seal, 6 inches deep, so we can pour concrete. Pull that out. But you have to go obviously because it's so we can do. So said I it was $8 a square foot, and it's 48,000 square feet. 3D intersection. So this would be from the intersection on the north side of the intersection all the way through the intersection and past the double gates. Past the double gates on the second entrance into DFA. If y'all can see on the yellow on your map. So to go completely through the intersection, concrete, and it'd be 6 inches. Now, we did get an email from the city manager and constructors can do it for $600,000. That's the way y'all want to go. That's y'all. I mean,
That's their estimate as far as the concrete.
After what we already paid for, yes.
Okay.
In phase 3, phase 3 would be at like 18th Street from right in front of the rodeo arena, going south, going west. That would be just a chip seal. I mean, we discussed this with the businesses out there with Myman And, and DFA also. I think is going to stop going in on off of 18th and it's going to move to industrial. They put a new gate in. DFA put a lot of concrete out there and they're out for all the trailers. So all the traffic is going to move from 18th Street to industrial. So there's an entrance there from the intersection back west a couple of 100 feet. And that's where all the trucks will be coming in and out of and going into DFA. So that's the reason for chip seal on phase 3, no concrete. And we could do some micro seal on top of that also. And I believe that one came out to be cost estimate is $60,000. Then phase 4 will be from where we tied in from on phase 2, where the yellow and the green tie in together. And it would go back north. And just past Minor's entrance or DFA's entrance there. Their yard, actually, it's actually DFA's yard. But Minor's in there for that now because they got the contract. But anyways, it'll be 6 inches of concrete and it'll be 600 feet back north at 60-foot wide. And that would be the cost estimate that I just said would be $288,000. Stand for any questions. I mean,
On Mars, Rick, is their entrance and exit, is it the same? They come in and out, that same one now, it will be on industrial.
correct.
They have the little entryway.
Yes.
Always had it down on 18th.
We could always, I mean, this is a phase out. I mean, we could pour concrete. 18th Street, and that little entrance way where they're twisting and turning. That's where all your potholes are at anyways. I mean, 60 feet wide by the width of, you know, just put a piece of concrete there and not do the whole road from the rodeo to industrial.
Have any other questions or comments from Rick?
Just asking one question.
Go ahead.
Industrial coming off of US, I mean, it's not US 7, it's coming off the Floyd Highway.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so who owned that road? Is that a county road or a city road?
So it's to the county from, let's go 267.
Yeah.
And I think it's 14th Street that turns back
Yeah.
into the city. That's pretty much where we stop. I mean, the maintenance stops in that area.
So the highway department, have they been discussed, have any meeting with the highway department about the traffic? Since all the trucks gonna be coming down that road, have the highway department been incorporated in this discussion?
No, they have not. I have not talked to District 2 about that, but industrial's got a few bad spots in it where they had cut it and some pipes and stuff in it, but I believe we can go in there and patch that work up and micro seal it and it would hold up. It's been a really good road for years.
The reason I asked that question, Rick, is I'm proud of what you presented here. Maybe the highway department, District 2 could give you a little money too, since they're coming off that highway into that road.
That I don't know, Oscar.
Could you, do we have to ask that question?
I don't know. That's a question I can't answer. I'm sorry.
The point he makes, that'd be a nice intersection to have concrete there too, because the cross traffic with the milk trucks that come from there on the Floyd Highway.
Yes.
Yes, sir, and then cross over to Bethel Highway.
Okay,
That'd be a helpful intersection to be concreted as well with the trucks turning and then help with the drainage. Something to think about.
Correct.
Because if not, we have the same thing we have on the south side of industrial. If we don't talk to the highway department, see if they can enhance that.
Get that going too.
That's just a point.
You know, sorry, Mayor. Megan Arnett is the representative for District 2. She's the liaison for District 2. That's something maybe we can get the phone number for y'all and y'all can visit with her. But she's a very good person to talk to about that.
Francisco.
Yes, or Francisco.
Ricky, what's the line of thinking of not doing all of 18th Street from 70 to Industrial Drive versus that cutout? It looks like it'd be what, another $20,000 just to complete from 70 all the way to Industrial on the chip seal?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. It's in pretty decent shape, for one thing, and then to deal with BNSF is a nightmare. A nightmare. You have to hire flaggers, and can't remember exactly what they cost. They're, I think $2,000 a day. To get within, I think 50 to 100 feet of that set of tracks. So on the what would that be? This east side of the tracks on Highway 70, that actually belongs to the DOT. So that's their right of way. So on the west side of the tracks, which belong to y'all, but to get up to the set of tracks, it isn't that going to deal with BNSF.
Okay,
And I'm the representative for BNSF, by the way, and it's really tough. I'm County Commissioner Dennis Lopez, by the way. That's why I'm up here. And I'll speak here in a minute.
And
so Dennis, take care of it.
We'll try. I think we need to baby step this. The thing is, our R6 is right now is priority. This is what Mr. Lovato is here for. And the main reason is because it's a very hazardous road. And we're wanting to work with the city to let's get it done. We will do anything and everything in our power that's vested amongst the county commission. I'm here on behalf of county commission, on behalf of our road superintendent. And let's get that hazard out of the way, because it's imminent. Someone's going to get hurt, get killed on that road. And if we can work together and collaborate, that's all we're asking. Let's get it done. And it'll be a great start to better future between city and county collaboration.
Any other counselors have a question for Mr. Lovato? No, Rick, appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you being here too.
So,
Yeah, no, that's the way we're hoping to go that way, sir.
I like to offer a handout if y'all would like, if we happen to do this, maybe you can get your road department out there and they can come in and help us and get some experience on doing some of the stuff that we're going to end up doing out there, some chip sealing, even getting on a blade or a loader, what have you. I believe it would do them a lot of good. I know it takes years and years to get to a point where you can do what you need to do, run these roads out here. So I just like to offer that should I say, all the branches to come on out and let's work together.
Appreciate it. Our road crew right now is so new and so green that it would be, that is a helpful offer and we appreciate that. And I think we'd love to take advantage of that and get some of these guys some experience in
Definitely.
handling some of that bigger equipment. So
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thanks a lot, Ricky. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thanks for being here.
Good evening. We have a longtime employee. Laura has almost 16 years with the city of Portillo's. She's going to be retiring. So not only is she a good worker, but she's a good friend. So I first want to read a message from Joanne Martinez Terry, our city clerk, who's out with an illness. And she texted me yesterday and wanted me to read this to you. Congratulations upon retirement from the city of Portillo's. I appreciate your support during my time as your supervisor and your service to the citizen public that we worked for. Thank you. From my heart to yours, may your retirement be full of pleasure and happiness. No one knows the commitment of public service requires until you have served. That was from sweet Miss Joanne. So it's really difficult for me to say goodbye to Laura. Like I say, she's been here almost 16 years, and anyone that's worked public service knows what that means. So I could always count on Laura. She was dependable, always on time. She was my right arm. She should always be really proud of what she did for the citizens of Portales. And I want to thank you. So, sorry, we wish you many happy times and family and friends. And we hope you get to spend countless hours riding your horses. So if you'll come up, I have a plaque for you from the mayor and the council and a certificate of appreciation. Sure. Plaque and a certificate of appreciation. Thank you. And I would shake her hand, but I'm a hugger.
I'm on. Speech.
Gotta raise my kids and I made it through without this job. Thank you so much.
You've done great for us. Karen, great job. I know that, when you work with somebody like that and you can hear the love in Karen's voice. So I appreciate that and the closeness that our departments have over there is nice. All right, next on the item on the agenda is a 10-year service pin for Mr. Stephen Chavez, hiding in the back there. Stephen, I'm going to read this and then I'm going to present it to you. This is the city of Portales presents the certificate of appreciation to Stephen Chavez in recognition of 10 years of faithful service, outstanding performance and commitment to excellence for the city of Portales, dated March 27th, 2023. And you get your nice pen too, Stephen. So. Right. 10 years goes by pretty fast, doesn't it? Yeah. Congratulations, man. Appreciate you. You, Kathy, paramedic challenge coins.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and Council. In 1974, the city of Portales began providing EMS services to our community. In the mid-1980s, Portales Fire Department attained special skills for manual defibrillation, cardiac medications, and endotracheal intubation at the intermediate level, or at that time, the IV Tech level. Then in the mid-90s, Portales Fire Department began providing paramedic level emergency medical services for our community. All that said, Portales Fire Department has a long history of providing excellent patient care to our community, including class time and clinicals. Personnel that obtain their paramedic certification and licensure have completed over 2,000 hours of training and passed 3 national or state tests. All levels of EMT are important, but providing the highest quality service to our community requires dedicated personnel obtaining their paramedic certification and licensure. We'd like to recognize all of our retired personnel that obtain their paramedic and our current personnel. So as I say your name, please come join me. Starting with our retired Chief Jesse Maurer, retired Chief John Bridges, retired Battalion Chief Lance Hill, retired Division Chief Darwin Chenault, retired Battalion Chief Mickey Hargrove, retired Lieutenant Harlan Staub, retired Battalion Chief Mike Golden, retired Captain Mike Inge, retired Chief Gary Knuckles, retired Battalion Chief Shannon Lee, and Lieutenant Scotty Watson. And now for our current personnel, Battalion Chief Hugh Frank, myself, Battalion Chief Randy Soto, Battalion Chief Jared Shearer, Lieutenant Artie James, Acting Lieutenant Trevor Chacon, and Second Lieutenant Gavin Schultz. I would also like to mention we have 4 personnel in paramedic class right now. Lieutenant James Bray, Second Lieutenant Andrew Gramzo, Acting Second Lieutenant Tyler Watson, and Firefighter Jonathan Montiel. So I'll present their coins. It's all face Andrew, so we can.
Thanks, Chief. Congratulations. Item 6 is the manager's report that's in your packet. Any questions or concerns for the manager? Sarah, do you want to go over anything on that, or is that just presented to us?
This is a presentation, good evening, Mayor Council. This is a, something that I give to you guys the second meeting of every month. And it's a synopsis of what we've done the previous month. And it's also available for the public to view on our website under the manager's report, under the manager's page. I do stand for any questions, but again, it's just a brief synopsis of what we have been doing the previous month.
Just one question or a couple questions about the roofing repairs. When are they going to be done with this one?
We have 25 more days left on this one to be done. I got the report yesterday.
Okay, nice. And then how about the YAM? Are they?
The YAM
just-
should take about 15 days after they complete this one.
Oh, okay. So the same crew is just moving down the road. Perfect. Any questions for Sarah on her report? If not, the next item 7 is consent agenda. These items are in your packet. I will read those items. Item 1 is ratification of the bills for the month of February 2023. Item 2 is ratification of law enforcement retention fund. Item 3 is ratification of the law enforcement protection fund. Item 4 is a request to accept and recommend the planning commission's approval of a special use permit for a radio tower. And item 5 is a request to accept the recommendation of the planning and zoning commission approving 24, I don't know what that means. Anyway, a variance covering original accessory building and accessory addition at 104 South Indio. The 6th item is a request to accept the recommendation of the planning commission for a zone change at 109 Airport Road from R1 to M2. And the 7th item is a request to accept the recommendation of the planning commission for a zone change at 181 Airport Road from R1 to M2 as well. Those are consent agenda items, and I would entertain action on those.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Robinson, second by Mr. Heflin. You need to have a roll call on that consent agenda, or just, we do? Okay. Let's do a roll call, please.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Heflin,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Action items is under the heading of number 8. First item is a request for approval of Portales Communication Agreement Contract with Roosevelt County. Veronica Cordova and Chad Heflin were our representatives on those negotiations. Veronica?
Thank you, Mayor. I am coming before you guys. I do need to state, to be transparent for the record, that the new sheriff is, in fact, my brother, Javier Sanchez. We met with Tina and Dennis a couple of months ago with Chad. And I actually was able to go and answer some questions for the city. Sarah and the chief and the new dispatch director was able to be there. Chief Kathy was there as well. So in the negotiations, we were asked by the commission to give a written agreement for what we wanted to do for our retroactive payment for 22-23. So we did that. We sent it to the city, but for audit purposes, they do have to have a contract in place. So the county came back and stated that they know that they have the two agreements, the two JPAs that they came back with. One was for 175 to go forward with a, they call it a regional, for us, we call it the consolidation dispatch. Or they stated if we don't want to go with the 175, that we could accept the 125. Which their numbers weren't just pulled out of the air. What they did was they took their numbers that they researched on. And it was like 123, 8 something, and they rounded it up to the 125. So they asked for us to come back with two JPAs for you guys to look at. I believe that they are in your packet. I just have mine printed. If we don't want to go, if we do want to, collect the 175, then we can, look at negotiating this contract with, for the 175. The 125, there are some items in there that I would like to discuss. I would just like to state that item G and through item P are items that we are already providing to them. They just have to be stated in the contract. Items Q and R are new items. Q has a sex offenders to ensure that they are properly entered into NCIC. We are going to nick that one because that is something by state statute that I did talk to our attorney about. Statute 29-11A-5 is stating that the county does have to provide that. And I believe that the sheriff did his research as well, and they do have to provide that service. They are asking for after hours. He's here so he can state why and what he needs. I know there's some questions about administrative duties that the city would provide for the county at a lower rate from the 175. He's not asking for, well, I'll let him explain, but he's not asking for administrative stuff. He's asking for calls of service. Item 3 on the term, we would need to clean that language up too. It says for fiscal year 23-24, but then down below it shows January of 2024. We just need to clean that language up to state that we're going to start the negotiation for 24-25, starting in January and trying to get it done within a 30-day period. That way, both entities has that budgeted within their time frame when they start budget season, and they're not having to say, oh, are we going to provide this? Are they not going to provide this? It's already going to be cut and dry instead of, just dragging it out. Chad and I did extend an invitation to Commissioner Lopez and Commissioner Dixon. Ms. Dixon was picking up her mother from the airport.
She was still in love
So
with the
she
airport.
was-
Just talked to her.
Yeah, she was stuck. I believe the reasoning they came back with the lower 125 was because when we stated that we would accept the 175 at the going towards the dispatch, I believe they feel like we don't want the consolidation. So that's why they went down to their numbers as far as the 125. It's not a number that was just grabbed out of the air. Just want to state that. So with that, I stand for any questions, or if you guys want to hear from Sarah or the sheriff or Chad or Mr. Lopez, where they're all here to answer questions as well.
Thanks. Good job. Chad, do you have anything to add?
No, we've done this in good faith, and we gave them a fair deal. I feel like everything was, when we got that meeting, we're very confident in it. I think we got to get to a point where we got to start drawing some lines. So I'm going to motion to deny the Portales communication agreement and the contract with Roosevelt County. Then I'm going to move to continue all the PSAP services and 911 calls for emergency purposes and discontinue all administrative for the Roosevelt County Sheriff's Office effectively April 30th, 2023, without financial support from the Roosevelt County.
Before we move to a second, can we at least give the sheriff a moment to speak on his behalf for the county, and Dennis as well, because he was part of the negotiation.
Go ahead, Chair.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Yeah, so I had several meetings with some of the council and also with the city manager. I thought they were going well until that motion just came up, but so I don't know where that motion came from as far as trying to stop all services for the sheriff's office and for Roosevelt County. But you know, this is something that I think everybody's on the same page that we need to start making some payments and some services. And I think whenever the negotiations started and whenever there was what I felt was kind of like bad blood, you know, with this is whenever we received a letter from the city saying that if you don't pay us $225,000 by, and I can't remember the exact date, that we will stop all services other than PSAP by June 1st of 2022, I guess is what it was. So, and I think that's kind of where it went downhill. So I really thought we were making strides and it was starting to get better. The commission seemed like they're on the same page. This last commission meeting, Ms. Cordova was there, the city manager was there, Ms. Cordova got up and spoke to the commission. And it just seemed like it was going really well. So that being said, I guess I'll wait and see where this motion leads from here on out, but my suggestion would not be doing the 175 for the regional or the consolidated dispatch center. My suggestion would be doing the 125 for the contract. When I met with the city manager, we agreed that to add the language in the contract so we know what we're actually getting for the money we're paying for the services. So we did that. We added that language. That way we can present it. At the commission meeting, I suggested that we come up with 2 agreements to present to the commission. That way we weren't just going back and forth for another year. So there were 2 agreements that were worked up by the attorney and they went to the commission. That's what they voted on, is to do the 125. That way nobody's locked into a consolidated center. There's no board. There's no, really no buy-in by us by not having the consolidated board. So I'll stand for any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Sheriff.
I just have one thing I'd like to say. I want the record to reflect that I do work for the sheriff's office. The sheriff is my boss. So, but I will be still voting on this action item.
Thanks, Dan.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to request, once again, Dennis Lopez, County Commissioner, Roosevelt County Commission, District 1. I'm a little flabbergasted. I would like for him to repeat his motion again, because I'm a little confused.
You want to repeat it for the minutes?
Why don't you tell us what your, why don't
Well,
you?
no, I would like for him to repeat his motion again, because this is,
Motion that we're gonna take action on. So we're gonna give you an opportunity to speak.
so what's the motion though? I would like to, because maybe I didn't hear him. What?
I've said the motion and it's recorded. I don't feel like I have to say it again. I motion to deny the Portales Communications Agreement contract with Roosevelt County. That's the one y'all sit over, okay? I move to continue all PSAP and 911 calls for emergency purposes. We continue doing 911 calls, everything's there. And discontinue all administrative services for the Roosevelt County Sheriff's Office effective April 30th. That still gives us time to negotiate without financial support from Roosevelt County.
We got to draw a line somewhere, and that's why my motion stands. It's not drawing a line. The thing is, it's a moving document, and we understand as Roosevelt County residents and all of us that are from here that yes, just deserves that we do need to compensate you guys for the services that you guys provide. So I'm just a little confused on this whole issue that you're wanting to disapprove, but the negotiations, it's a moving document, and we're going to revisit it in July, in December.
It's been a moving document for 50 years.
That's not my fault.
Motion's on the table.
So
Point of administrative action.
Point of order.
Point of order. We have a motion on the floor which requires either a second or a non-second. So we can't debate the motion on the floor. So I make a second to the motion.
I feel like we're quick to jump in and nobody can talk. That's-
Yeah, that's how
Nobody can
it's
talk,
always
just
ran.
There's gotta be rebuttals on this, Mr. Mayor. Let's see, because this is just,
We made lawyer.
Legally, Oscar's correct. You don't have debate an issue until the motion's been seconded. Now it's been seconded. Now there's
You can
time,
debate it.
appropriate time for comments. But you can't
Thank
do it.
thank you,
until there's-
thank you, attorney. I wasn't trying to deny I was saying we have to have a motion, the second the motion, now we can do the.
the second, the motion would have died, in my opinion.
Okay, so options, I mean, items Q and R, I think are throwing our council off. So if you could just agree, just give us just why you wanted those Q and Rs.
Well, and Q is out of the question already. I mean.
Yeah.
We've discussed that and I don't have an issue of taking that out. We're working on getting NCIC so we can validate our own sex offenders. But R was
The transfer of.
yeah, the transfer of the phone call. So, and I wish I had a little more time to prepare. I didn't realize I was gonna be here until last night, but. So I went back, our caller ID on our phones goes back 25 calls. So we went back and looked at the calls. We had 2 callers calling in last night between after hours from 5 to 8. So it's not like it was an overwhelming number of calls that were coming in. And we're asking the PD to do any administrative duties for the sheriff's office. The only thing that we're asking is to be able to transfer the calls, to have an option on the phone to say, if you need a deputy, press whatever number. That way a deputy can be called to somebody's residence for a call for service. And I'm not saying, checking on status of civil paperwork or what have you, just for, hey, so I just got broken into and I need to speak with the deputy because I need to file a report or somebody's criminally trespassing on my property. So when people that live out in the county, they think I have to call the sheriff's office because I live out in the county, which is correct. But if dispatch could just take those calls and dispatch that deputy, that's all we're asking for, not for any kind of administrative services. And there is no administrative services that dispatch handles for us.
That's what I wanted to ask Chad. What do you mean by admin services that dispatch handles? Like,
Sir, you want to take that question?
Yes, give me just one moment. I'm trying to take notes too.
So I spoke with a dispatcher today and I asked them, are you overwhelmed with calls from the sheriff's office after hours or during the weekends or holidays? Their answer was no. So I don't know where that comes from. That they're overwhelmed with calls from the community for the sheriff's office after hours. So
Right now, the administrative services that the dispatchers provide are the recording of calls for the sheriffs other than 911 calls, pinging cell phones, and if that is done incorrectly and Steve can verify, that would be a Fourth Amendment violation. Logging radio traffic for transport officers, any other non-emergency traffic, illegal trash dumping calls, traffic stops, stray cats or dogs, theft reports, record towing service, logging deputy initiated activity, NCIC, NMLET queries, call creation for non-emergency for Roosevelt County Sheriff, and providing vehicle registration checks. That's in addition to their non-emergency duties.
yeah, so when I think of admin calls, I think of people calling, wanting to speak with the sheriff or with the chief over at the sheriff's office. That's what I think of admin. It's because they're the administrators over there. And yeah, the dispatch shouldn't have to dispatch calls for the sheriff. They just say, call the sheriff's office Monday through Friday, they're there, and hang up the phone. But if we discontinue these services, the community is just gonna call 911, say, hey, I got a person trespassing on my property. Who's dispatched to say that it's emergency to them or not?
They would dispatch it out to the sheriff's department. That's what would happen.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, people are gonna call 911 if we discontinue these services. That's all they're gonna do. They're gonna call 911 and dispatch is gonna get overwhelmed with 911 calls. So.
And my main concern, sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
And my main concern is just the safety of my guys. That's my number one priority. Whenever they pick up that mic and they need to talk to dispatch, whether it was, they get called out there for a littering call and it turns something bad. We need to make sure we have somebody on the other end of that radio that's going to answer, that's going to send a backup unit when they need to. I don't think that those are any kind of administrative duties. I think that's duties of a dispatch center that would handle those calls and continue that call until they clear from that call. That way they're safe. So, and that's my number one concern is the safety of my guys. Make sure they're going to go home at night. And as for the money, I mean, I can't speak to the dollar amounts. That's something that the commission has to, this commission and the city have to agree on, but, as far as the language in the contract, we went through it and, you know, as far as the sex offender deal, that's, you know, that's fine. I don't mind, figuring out, doing our validations ourselves. That's not a deal breaker on my end. But I would like for the funds to get transferred. That's what I'm asking for in that contract.
And to be clear with the motion, we still have till April 30th to negotiate. But we gotta start putting a time on this, because all it's gonna do is we're gonna throw something back, and it could come back and go back and go back.
So can I make
That's all I'm doing. is
can I make a suggestion? Can the city and the county do some type of workshop so it's not going back and forth every 2 weeks?
We've done workshops, we've done it all. I'm just.
The entire,
Workshop.
It wasn't a workshop. It was just kind of a
It was a forum.
forum. Yeah,
Nobody could talk during, it was only
yeah. And then,
like Miller that talked.
We can come to something, but my motion is
Yeah.
April 30th.
My question would be for Dennis, where do we go from 175 to 125? How did that come down? from
Well,
your
Veronica could
meeting?
probably answer that question because she was there.
You were at the count, you were at the commission. meeting.
50,000, what was it that fluctuated from the 125 to 1?
it was the difference between doing the board and not the board, and then all of the research that they did based on call volume. And they put a figure to it, they divided it, and it came up to like 123,000 based on their research. It's just based on their research. It was based off of the report that we
Mayor,
provided to
But
them.
it's a moving document. So I'm fighting for the city to get retro payment. I'm fighting till the day I die for them to get retro payment. And then it's a working document for, as Councilman Heflin and Councilwoman Cordova, when we met, it's up to review 6 months or every year. I would prefer every 6 months because things change so much. So we could go all the way up to the 175. I mean.
Yeah, and in
we gotta
this,
Start somewhere though, guys.
Mayor,
This thing about the regional and just, you know, we've got to start somewhere.
yeah, Jim,
Sarah, we started at 225, wasn't that the number? So it's gone from 225 to 175 to 125.
Was 225 based on the call volumes, and we did the math based on our actual budget for dispatch. And then Commissioner Savage said in the meeting that he didn't think the city needed 175, and he lowered it down to the 125.
That's where the frustration is, gentlemen. You know, we did our math, we said 225. You did your math, you say 125, but what's the real number? But it just seems like we're always going the wrong, you know, your direction, you know, but not a whole lot in our direction. And that's where I feel there's a frustration, is there's not a whole lot of listening on your end, quite honestly.
Can we start somewhere?
Well,
Because
it
Commissioner
seemed-
Savage initially was part of the team to negotiate this. That didn't work out. Me and Commissioner Dixon are now on the team with Councilman Heflin and Councilwoman Cordova. We need to start somewhere, guys. There's gotta be a start.
Then it started at 175.
well,
I have to agree with
and as far as the money goes, I was here at the meeting when Mayor Pro Tem Miller came out and said, you know, I went into executive session, came out, and he said, we will take the 175 with the agreement that we're going to move towards a regional dispatch center, consolidated dispatch center, whatever you want to call it. But he also said, you know, we threw out that $225,000 because when we go to legislature, we don't ask for what we need, we ask for over that amount, and we negotiate from there and get what we get, you know. So I mean, he did state that in the meeting whenever Mr. Savage came and actually presented to the council.
Mr. Mayor and to Dennis and Chair, I don't see this motion being hostile. I see the motion that's opened up the conversation that you say. I think there is a deadline, April 30th. And I think that if I understood the motion, Chair can correct me, is that immediately after this meeting, they'll begin to discuss the issues that you're bringing up and bring it back at April 30th. I think that's the idea. That's the ideal of this motion. It's not to be an adversary against the action. I think it's to give us an opportunity to sit there and discuss the 225, 175, or 135, or whatever. And I think that's what this motion does. And I think that's why it's on the. it's
Don't
on-
add a new number, Mr. Robert.
Oh, well, 125. I stand corrected, 125.
Yeah, I don't hear the 175.
That's gonna go on.
It's
By April 30th.
Like, how long? Now,
30.
what's gonna transpire after?
So then if we go back,
Come to an agreement.
Get going.
That's
But
what it's
no,
gonna
we need to pay you guys.
we're not-
know, April, May 1st, May 2nd, I can't put that date, I can just say it. The motion, I understand, is say April 30. And right then, that decision will be made by April 30th, and that's it.
so the decision for us is going to be, we're gonna come up with a new number and then we still have to take it back to them. So Chad and I are gonna have to get on the ball
They
with,
can have a special session, right?
Yes.
They
Yeah.
can meet.
It's not this council.
we're still having to, we're still gonna have to come up with new wording.
Yes, as we should, because this is not what we agreed to.
Mayor, I have one question.
We absolutely haven't agreed to anything, I don't think.
My suggestion would be to involve the sheriff and dispatch new director in the negotiations if really possible, so that way we can work out the little parts of what you expect and what they can provide, and that way we have an agreement that is solid that we can bring back to council.
You used the term that I never heard before, new dispatch director.
Yes, I want to hear about
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did make good faith efforts. I know that was mentioned in the commission meeting that we did not make good faith efforts, but we did. We hired on Ms. Janelle Combs as our new dispatch director in order to move towards this consolidated dispatch. We are accredited as regional, but we do want to work with the county, and we did make good faith efforts, like I said, hiring her. And so we would like to bring her in on the discussion if possible.
And when we were at the county commission meeting, I did, they did state that, and I said, our good faith effort is hiring the director, and we were able to present her at that meeting. So, so they do know that we did a good faith effort.
Then
So, were you done?
Go ahead.
Sorry. I just have one quick question. It's the item R, and since Ms. Janelle is here, we can clear it up for the record. Do you think your dispatchers, that'd be a burden on them to transfer the sheriff's office calls during the weekend after hours or on the holidays? Would that be a burden to dispatch?
Well, as you know, I'm on trainer a
Yes.
week in like 2 days.
Mhm.
I've spoke to a couple of them about it, and a couple have expressed to me that it does get overwhelming for them at times.
Okay.
Having to make those calls. If you've ever sat in dispatch, and I've sat there this week and I feel pretty much useless because I dispatched a long time ago, so I'm not trained on the new stuff, but 911, 2 lines of 911 ringing and admin lines ringing, and they're trying to dispatch the officer out. It's very hectic. And
Is that because we don't have enough dispatchers in there, or is that because it's during the lunch hour or after regular business hours or on the weekends? I'm just reading off what item are. I'm just trying to clarify on that one.
well, like I said, I've only been there for a couple weeks, so I can't attest to
How short-staffed are we in that department?
We have one dispatcher at any given time, and we have Wednesdays where we have a rollover of 2. And the point of asking for the 225 was so we could hire on 4 more dispatchers to accommodate all the needs of both Roosevelt County and city. And so that she is correct. They are overworked. Please go sit and dispatch and see how hard they're working. I do encourage everybody, you guys got to go to Leak and go to our dispatch center and see how hard they're working.
Yeah. Well, and at the meeting, the chief did tell me, everybody's gone to Lee County. We can't compare apples to apples. Nobody's come to ours. So we sat there and we invited, we didn't invite you because you were on Zoom, but we invited, Tina's already been there. We personally invited Mr. Criswell and Mr. Greider as well. So Tina's already been there, and I've been there. The sheriff's been there. We extend that invitation to anybody so they can go see what those people in that department, how hard they do work, because
One person taking all of the calls for Roosevelt County.
and having that other person's life on the line on the other end. It's a stressful job.
Ms. Parker.
Okay, so we all know and we all agree on one thing, that this is very, very, very important for our county residents and our city residents. And the city of Portales isn't within the county. So it's just as important for the city citizens as it is for the county. And this is something that we need to put priority. And my question is, and I'm very confused on this, and I guess that the city is basically doing all of this, and they came up with the $225,000, and slowly it has dwindled and it's $125,000. So if it's that important, which I think it is very important, $225,000 is barely enough. And now you're saying, okay, it's very important that we take care of our county residents, which it is, because we're all in this together. But it's only $125,000 worth important. So I'm just really frustrated that it went from 225, because that's what the city goes from 1 to 4. We need more dispatchers. We all agree on that. I think we're agreeing on a lot of different things, but how important is it really? It's very important. It's very important. And especially if you have someone, a loved one on the other end, and that could be anytime, any one of us. So it's very, very important. So I think the 225 is very important. Still not enough, but now it's getting dwindled down. So that's, like he said, it's frustrating. I'm sorry. It's just very frustrating.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
It just seems like there is a window, Commissioner, with his motion and the second, and I do think there's some common ground. But I think there's gonna be some expedited hard work to get to that point by the deadline. But I do think it's achievable. And I think it's necessary, in my opinion.
Thanks, Jim. Daniel?
I think we could pay these dispatchers unknown amounts of money, but they don't want to go work in a hostile environment. And I'm not speaking towards Ms. Janelle. She just started working there. I know her personally. She's a good lady. I think about the past supervisors out of Rover Dispatch. And we all know why one dispatcher isn't working there anymore. So I think we need to look at that, the supervision over dispatch. And Ms. Janelle, hopefully you can correct that. And so.
One more thing that I'd just like to state is that for my stance is that I do want for everybody to work together, you know, like Diane said, we're all one, we're this community, we all need to care about every citizen in this community. We have other work ahead of us as well for fire and EMS, for animal control, for, you know, a bunch of different things. I would recommend that if anybody wants to jump on those committees to see what the negotiations are and how they're going, you know, come on in. I know that, you know, there's rules and regulations, of course, to the rolling quorums and everything else, but, you know, I do feel like we have done our good faith effort with the county. They were appreciative at their meeting. And they do understand that they do need to pay for services. So if that's where we go from here, then, you know, just don't want to shoot us in the foot with the future negotiations that we have coming up.
No, and I would add that I appreciate all your efforts in those negotiations. Dennis, I appreciate yours and Ms. Dixon's as well. And Chad, yours too. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just like Veronica said, those aren't easy, you know, those aren't easy negotiations. And believe me, I've been in there with, you know, your county manager and we've had some discussions and it's never easy, but we are all residents of Roosevelt County. And we understand that and we appreciate that.
I'd like to
Anything
say
else, any other
something, Mayor.
discussion? Sir?
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
What I don't understand is that 225,000. And then you lowered it down to 175. Now it's 125. Who came up with that deal there?
Data research. Calls.
Well, you could have researched it
volume.
higher. And you can research higher. It doesn't make
It's
sense.
negotiations.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm
Councilman.
saying, the negotiations to the one.
Like Mayor Pro Tem Miller stated at the forum and throughout this whole process, he said, let's start up. Let's start up and then we can negotiate back down. Did he not?
He did.
Yeah, but Not
I
so
do,
much.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Councilman, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Lopez.
that's okay. I just want to go 175 at least right away. And then negotiate up or down.
Well, and when we started in our negotiations, Dennis and Tina did state that, you know, yes, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do the Riddick contract. And then they came back with the 2 GAPAs, so,
I would like the record to reflect that I'm only one commissioner.
and yeah,
I am not
I am
speaking on
too.
behalf of my 4 fellow county commissioners. I'm here because I wanted to be here. I'm here because I love you guys. I'm here because we need to get the ball going.
Appreciate that.
here to say-
Mr. Cerro had a question.
Yeah, I actually, I know Mr. Miller, it might be taken a little bit out of context, but I believe, Miss Austin, that 225 was our research, our data. It's not out of the sky kind of number. It was real numbers for what we say, just like you said, hey, our numbers are real. That are the numbers that were pulled out, data that was used to get that number. It was not just one pie in the sky, let's go high. That, to my knowledge, and verify that those are real numbers. And I want to make that, I want that to be
Yeah,
heard and
because-
clear.
And I apologize because the manual that was gathered and put together for our packet it's at home. I didn't even know I was gonna be up here speaking tonight. I was just here just because. So I apologize for not bringing my packet that showed the research and data with the numbers that we came up with.
Well, that may be something that we bring back together before, it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We
any
can't
other
let it
discussion?
drag on, Mayor. We gotta start paying you guys.
I want,
Something
we
that's
want to be
better than
paid, I
nothing.
assure you. That's the whole point of this, but
We'd love to have county money.
we need it to be fair. And I know you say our numbers, and let's get back together. If you want to have a workshop, you want to, whatever that needs to be done, let's do it.
Did we
But
have errors?
But Councilman Lucero, I'm gonna say this again, and I'm gonna reiterate, I'm gonna overemphasize this. It's a working document. Let's get something started where we can start paying you guys. And then we can negotiate from here on out, every quarterly, every 6 months, every year, whatever it may be. We need to have something signed in place so that we can start paying y'all, because at the end of June, we can renegotiate everything.
Well, what,
So
what
if you
this
guys don't sign off on the contract right now, you ain't getting no money.
Well, we know that, but this contract is stated that it does go through to 224.
Right.
But it's still a working document.
Right, yes, it is. Yeah, and that's what we.
And I'll be out of office by then, so I'll be like. hell, I'm done.
All right. Any other discussion? So this item there's been a motion made and a second. A motion was made by Mr. Eflin and a second by Mr. Robinson. You have that in your records? Motion? So the motion has been made and seconded, and I would ask for a roll call vote. Melissa, if you would, please.
Mr. Lucero,
yes,
Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Bowen,
No,
Ms. Cordova.
No.
Mr. Heflin,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
no.
4 yes, 3 no. And is approved. Move on to the next item is, thanks to fellas for being here. We'll be back again. Item number 2 is a request for approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the Roosevelt County and city. So for Talis for road maintenance, maybe this one will be a little smoother. Where'd Ricky go? We need Ricky to.
This piggybacks off his presentation.
Yes, it does. We should have kind of had those together, but neither way. Go ahead, Sarah.
So this agreement was developed from an agreement that you guys had previously agreed upon to when you did work with the city in the past. I don't have any issues with it. It does talk about phase 1. The city does have the ability to meet the requirements of the 45,000 and work with the staff. However, we even got some quotes today and it came in a little bit lower than 40,000. I don't know if that's going to change the direction of this, but I do suggest we move forward with this agreement for the county and get the roadworks completed.
And this is all the portion of industrial, right?
This is for phase 1.
That's $45,000 or commitment.
45,000.
Recommending 45,000.
This is the one where we have to remove the trees and we make sure we get the overlay.
Yep.
Okay.
Any questions for Sarah on that request? I'd entertain action on that request for the approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Parker, second by Mr. Robinson. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Next item is public input for which no action will be taken, any matter not known about or which could not have reasonably been foreseen prior to the time of the posting of the agenda. This agenda item is for informational purposes only. Mr. Lopez. Let me finish reading this, please. First item is public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, limited to 1 presentation per minute, and no more than 6 speakers on each subject. Counselors will not respond to comments or answer questions to avoid any violation of the Open Meetings Act. Third item is direct any questions or requests for information of the city manager in writing during regular business hours. All that being said and read. Mr. Lopez, did you have something? to
No.
add? Okay. Anyway, I'll open it to the public for comments. Anybody in the public have anything to say tonight? David?
I'm David Essex with Excel Energy, and I will be retiring in 2 weeks, and this is my replacement, Patrick Lucero. He's been with Excel about 12 years. I'm losing my voice, sound pretty good. So anyways, I'll be leaving after 38 years. I want to tell you guys, thank you. It's been fun working with y'all. The council, you've been great, so appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Anybody else? Anything from the council?
I would just like to extend my congratulations to Miss Laura, and I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be at her little gathering. And then to Steve, I called in thank you for doing that over by T-Mobile where we had the illegal dumping. Next time we're gonna get that license plate for you.
That was Miss Becky.
Oh, Miss Becky.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to Miss Becky.
Solid waste and streets work very well together when there are issues, so thank you for that.
Yep, you're welcome.
And
That's all I have.
If I could just get your contact information before you leave, because I know I've reached out to the city manager before about getting streetlights down Kilgore, and I guess there's been a hiccup on one end or the other. I don't know whose it is, but before you leave, if you could get me the contact. I appreciate that.
he's getting some new cars made.
I'll give you. Yeah.
Anything else from the council?
I have a question. Could you give me a status update on the dumpster replacements? How are we coming on that? Has anybody received it? Well, I know you've done it, but like, are they starting to replace them?
We need $25,000 to replace that, and right now we don't have it in the budget. We are looking to replace them by re-welding what we can when the trash dumpsters come in as a valid complaint. We get out there and we'll get them welded as we have the staff to do so.
Have they been able to do any? What I'm saying is replacing the ones that they're welding. Are they getting those out there yet?
Yeah, they're working on re-welding what they
Okay.
can. But I mean, because for the most part, most of the dumpsters have really good frames. They just need the bottoms replaced.
Okay, good. And then another quick question on 18th. They put the stripes. Now, are they able to use that area as a bike and walking area?
No.
No. It's not wide enough. Okay, but hopefully the traffic will stay within the lines and then that will give, because I think a lot of people thinking, oh, wow, we've got like little walking area now, so they'll be walking there. So, but they can't put any, nothing to let them know that
Because
that's,
if we allow it, we say that before and they get hit, we're gonna be liable. If they're gonna choose to walk in there, they just didn't follow the laws, the traffic flow, but we can't encourage that.
okay, so it is not wide enough. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Oscar?
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to say to Sarah that she asked me, have you been checking the roads in town? I want to say publicly to Sarah and to Steve, the work that the road crew has been doing all over town. covering the potholes. They just not, they're staying and a real good job. And I see them all the time. I drive over most of these roads all the time and with my bus. And I have a new bus and I really enjoy driving over the potholes now.
Anything else from the council? Nothing at all? Okay, good job. The last item is an executive session, action to convene into a closed meeting to discuss matters as provided for under the New Mexico statutes related to the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights and or for attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation.
Motion to go to executive order or executive meeting.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Heflin, a second by Parker. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Heflin,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going into a closed session. Into meeting open session, a second by Mr. Bowen. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And the third item is action as a result of the closed session. There was no action taken, only matters discussed that were on the action, number one item. No action taken. Anything else? We're adjourned.